Obvious questions about Helldivers 2 and Halo crossover. I've got questions, you've got questions. What does this all mean? We're seeing two brands coming together and basically shaking hands. And what does this mean for the future of PlayStation titles, Xbox titles, the differences between the two platforms? I don't think this is just as simple as, oh, it'll be fun. There'll be some armor inside of Helldivers 2 from Halo, which obviously I think we're going to see. But I think this marks sort of the beginning of a new era for gamer. And some people are speculating that gamers are going to see this new era result in all the platforms look identical and like nobody has exclusives and games are going everywhere. I think these are very empty platitudes spoken by people with an agenda. They're not doing actual market analysis. It's not thoughtful. It's not deep. And here's why. I'm not seeing Nintendo or PlayStation show signs that they are going in this direction. And you might think that this Helldivers 2 Halo handshake is sort of the beginning of those changes. And what I actually heard from somebody that I trust is that Xbox initiated the conversation about Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox. I actually think Halo collaboration with Helldivers adds credence to that claim. That is something that Xbox would initiate. It's their IP. They went and said, we would like to do this, we would like to come together, and this is something that we'd be willing to do in the relationship. Bring Halo things into Helldivers. Now, it was stated by Arrowhead that they were not the ones that made this call. They said, quote, it was all Sony, which many thought was a repudiation or a refutation of my claim that, like, hey, somebody inside told me this was initiated by Xbox. I think both of those things can be true. I think it could have been a conversation initiated by Xbox. I think the Helldivers 2 Halo crossover could also, I think very likely was initiated by Xbox, but it ultimately was PlayStation's call. I don't think Arrowhead was saying, oh, it's all them. They're the ones that push for this. We weren't pushing for it. We didn't want this to happen. That would make their statements rather strange, given that we know Arrowhead was publicly in support of this happening. They were publicly in support of the game going to Xbox. But the bigger question is, why would both platforms be okay with this? And I think there is some signals from both companies as to what this all means. Number one, we have very significant signals from Xbox and Sarah Bond that future Xbox hardware will be Windows gaming devices. That means they are going to have devices out there labeled as Xboxes that have Steam, Epic Game Store, and then their own storefront. I think they're viewing that as an opportunity to make more money even within their own storefront. Storefront revenue is going to benefit them if they're in a good relationship with PlayStation. And they want to be in a good relationship with PlayStation. They're selling lots of copies of their games on PlayStation right now. And to have a reverse of that relationship where there is an Xbox storefront on your PC or your Windows gaming device selling PlayStation ported games, that's more revenue for Microsoft. They get a 30% on every single one of those sales. You also have to consider just how many people are loyal to Xbox and have a Series X or an S or are currently on Game Pass, maybe even a significant number of people still on Xbox Ones. And guess what? They're pushing for backwards compatibility to be a significant marker of the brand going forward. Well, why would you do that? Because you want to keep people within the Xbox ecosystem loyal to your storefront. It's far more likely that somebody with their entire backwards compatibility library, it's more likely they're going to continue to buy games through that Xbox application. If they end up on a PC, if they end up on a Windows gaming device, if the future Xbox console PC hybrid has that as an option, all their games are backwards compat and they can open up an Xbox store, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you would see PlayStation games sold in that store, because I believe the relationship of these two platforms has dramatically changed, and I think Helldivers 2 going to Xbox and the Halo crossover is a sign of that change. There's also something in the signals right now about a PlayStation-compatible Halo game was found through a data mine at like the exact same time that this happened. Insider Gaming reporting that, quote, a data miner has discovered that PlayStation-compatible Halo titles were listed in the API, suggesting that a release for the platform is imminent. Now, recently they said that we received several details about an upcoming Halo games, including Combat Evolved Remake, Project Eaker, and the next mainline installment for the series. The same source has now returned with new data mine details, hinting that a Halo release for PlayStation could be in the cards. Now, this to me is interesting. This came to light the same day as the trailer that included the teaser about a Helldivers 2 Halo crossover. Now, the question would be, well, what would the titles be coming to PlayStation? Well, apparently, according to the report, and this is from the Insider Gaming article, a beta title and a second new Halo title with PlayStation compatibility were discovered in the API. However, the data miner has limited information on these two. According to them, the new Halo title for PlayStation could be Certain Affinity's upcoming multiplayer title, Project Eaker. The data miner also speculates that the two listings could be the same game, one for the beta and the other for the full release. Now, you might be unaware of this. I was unaware of this, but Project Tatanka was switched hands and potentially direction as well. This is from the same article. For those unaware, Rebs Gaming had stated that Project Tatanka, Halo Infinite's canceled Battle Royale mode, was handed over to Certain Affinity. It was then rebranded as a separate multiplayer game using Unreal 5, which is currently codenamed Project Eaker. Rebs Gaming also stated that the best case scenario would be that players receive announcements for the Halo Combat Evolved Remake, Project Eaker, and Project Eaker's beta at the upcoming Halo World Championship 2025, scheduled for this October. Now, a great runway to this would be a Helldivers 2 Halo crossover. Helldivers 2 is coming at the end of August to Xbox. You could do something in September as a great lead up to this event and get people excited about the fact that these two companies are working together. Maybe more than just armor in the game, maybe some sort of an event, a big Halo event like that sort of runs and unveils and leads up to this event in October. There's some kind of a signal right now that people are analyzing, some radio signal. Now, given that we have a new war bond rumored to be coming in the middle of August, a month later would be the perfect time for an event, a Halo event inside of Helldivers 2. Now, regardless of how this all shakes out, many are seeing this as a continuation of Xbox being more publisher-oriented. They're taking some of their sacred cows and they're taking it to the former competition, PlayStation. Not only that, they're taking one of their most sacred cows, they're taking Halo, and they're seemingly going to be putting it into another piece of property, a PlayStation-owned piece of property. Arrowhead is not owned by PlayStation, but the Helldivers IP is. Now, some think that Helldivers 2 going to Xbox is a sign that PlayStation is taking the lead position, or they're following the lead position, I should say. Now, I have not been compelled that this is what's happening. 40 to 50 days ago, both Herman Holst and Nishino rejected the notion that they're going to be copying Microsoft's strategy. I will say the same thing that I always have. Porting games to a platform later is not a problem, as long as game development from first-party studios is prioritizing the home console first. I feel like we get better games. Now, something that I feel PlayStation has very strongly signaled for the future, because we have seen zero budgetary moves or hiring shifts at any of the PlayStation studios to gear up for what folks are claiming is coming. Oh, whole slate, no more exclusives. PlayStation's going to put their games everywhere day and date. Game development takes anywhere from 4 to 6 years. They would be preparing right now if that was the future they were headed for. Any games in development right now that are going to take 4 to 6 years to come out, meaning they're going to land in like 2029, 2030, the next gen, they would be prepping for that. They would be gearing up for parallel development. They'd be budgeting more money because it's more expensive to build a game for all the platforms. You're going to spend more marketing it. You're going to need more employees. It's going to take longer to come to market, which means you're going to budget a larger amount of money. We have seen no signs of this in any of the budgetary announcements from PlayStation. If they were moving in this direction, if they were shifting in this direction, there would be stronger signs that they were doing this. I expect PlayStation 5 to roll into PlayStation 6, and they're going to largely have the same approach. They will build for their platform first, games will be then ported to PC later, and since all future Xbox hardware is basically going to be a PC, a Windows gaming device that can sideload Steam and Epic Game Store, I see Xbox wanting this relationship with PlayStation to be one where they are mutually benefiting from their storefronts getting games, not one where PlayStation is porting games to a quote-unquote Xbox, as there won't really be dev kits for Xboxes in the future if what Sarah Bond said is true. And Nintendo is clearly not budging on this issue either. The death of exclusivity, as many people are calling this, I don't see evidence for that. As it stands, this more looks like to me a continuation of Xbox's newly evolved strategy, and PlayStation sees that future. They see Xbox hardware as more fertile ground for PC ports to those Windows gaming devices that are going to operate as PCs with various different storefronts. So PlayStation doesn't care if you buy their future games, their future ported games. Like, let's say Ghost of Yotei gets ported in 2 years, and you can buy it on a PC, but you can buy it in a Windows gaming device. You could buy it in Steam. You can buy it in Epic. You can buy it in that Xbox storefront. I don't think PlayStation cares because they don't see that as anything running contrary to their strategy of expanding the reach of their games while also prioritizing development for the PlayStation first. Now, that's just how I see it. I could see it wrong. Let me know what you think. I always like discussing this with you guys, and I especially like reading your comments on a pretty divisive subject.